Welcome to Fuji Speedway, a fantastic summer's day. A little cooler than yesterday, which is absolutely perfect for the cars and for the drivers. This is the third round of the Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS, and the second of 4 rounds of the concurrent Fanatec Japan Cup. Fantastic grid of cars, 25 in all, coming out to play. This circuit, beautiful location in the foothills of Mount Fuji, is a fantastic place to go racing. Plenty of scope for overtaking. Actually, if you look, we can see the top of Mount Fuji just peeking out of the top, over the top of the cloud there on the top right-hand side of the screen. It's always fabulous here when you get the full beauty of the volcanic caldera. But looking at the track there, plenty of gradient change. That's the view coming down to turn 2 out of turn 1, that tight hairpin at the end of that 1.4 kilometre straight. And certainly that is the place where most of the overtaking takes place, either on the way into the corner or out. And it's great to have the fans pouring through today in the hospitality areas, in the grandstands, and many, many spectator points around the circuit. Of course, when you've got gradient change, you've got lofty positions when you can look down onto the circuit below and check out what's happening. Yesterday was victory for Car Guy Racing in their Ferrari, but it was a real scrap. And today, of course, the grid order is completely shuffled. Now, one of the drivers who is here in the championship in 2022 is driving one of the X-Works Audis, and his name is David Poon, and he's down on the grid with Amy.
Thanks, Bruce. So let's jump right into it. We have David Poon, car number 22. So David, it's been a while since you raced here, but welcome back to Fuji Speedway. But you have great memories here. So simple, how does it feel to be back?
Yeah, it's always very exciting to be back at Fuji. I had a good race last time here back in 2019 in the GT4, but this time, jumping into a GT3, and always love this track. It's a lot about being patient, getting out of the corners, and we're still trying to find the perfect ideal setup. But hopefully we'll have a good second race too.
I'm wishing you a lot of luck, but you as a very successful entrepreneur and also very, very talented racing driver, I think a lot of people just want to know what racing is for you.
Yep. Racing to me, it's a lot about, passion, adrenaline, teamwork, and, like I said earlier, despite, the adrenaline and pushing yourself to the limit, but it's a lot about being patient, and that's something I learned a lot from racing, and it's something that I try to apply sometimes back into the business world, and so that's something that I really embrace about racing.
Amazing. And today the package with Sean and you, how does the car feel?
The car, Audi has always not been the strongest at Fuji. But we're still trying to push the limit and trying to get the right setup. So today, I think for us, it's just trying to not make any mistakes and be consistent. And we are able to drive pretty good time in the older tires. So we're just trying to keep that momentum and see if other people make mistakes, and we can hopefully be top 5. That's the goal.
Wishing you all the best luck.
Great, thank you.
Back to you.
Thank you very much, Amy. 7th place was the achievement yesterday. Let's see what they can do today. And as I pointed out, yesterday's grid is reshuffled. Take a look at the track, though. 16 turns in all, 4.563 kilometres. The start straight, 1.4 kilometres long across the face of the slope. But then the drop out of that hairpin at turn 1, fabulous flowing corners around the lower parts of the slope. And then you get to turn 10, bottom left of the map, and it's twisty all the way up the hill. But a good exit out of turn 16, and you're likely to get a slipstream and maybe make an overtaking maneuver down into turn 1. So there is scope, and the cars get very close indeed. Brilliant place to go racing, and yesterday we had some racing that really fitted the scene here. Let's take a look at the highlights of what went on in the first of the 2 races at Fuji Speedway. It was an all-Ferrari front row. We had Takeshi Kimura on pole position, the yellow car from Car Guy Racing alongside Naoki Yokomizo, and brilliant start from Kimura. 2 car lengths clear going into turn 1. He was safe in the lead. However, second place was under attack. Kantadi Kusiri in the red AWS Motorsport Porsche trying to dive up the inside of Yokomizo. Doesn't quite work. But look at this. This is a testament to the drivers. All 25 drivers got into turn 1 and got out without any single bit of contact. A lap later into turn 1, having used the slipstream down the start-finish straight, the Igibo Racing Ferrari took the lead. So Naoki Yokomizo pulled clear, and then suddenly Kimura was under attack. Didn't leave the door open there, right across the nose of Kantadi Kusiri. So the Porsche driver would have to wait and find his chance. It did come his way. He went past, so the car guy racing Ferrari now under challenge from the Lamborghini of Hiroshi Hamaguchi, and Kimura was doing the sensible thing. He knew the other drivers who started behind him were slightly quicker. He kept out of their way, and the two Ferraris came in as soon as they possibly could. The AWS Motorsport car stayed out a little longer before Tanart Sathin Thirikul came out and had his go, but the real story of the second half of the race was the pace of the car guy racing Ferrari, now in the hands of Kei Cozzolino. He just was able to put the car precisely where he wanted to put it on the circuit, and he duly took the lead and thereafter pulled clear. This is the move where he goes, waits the moment. This is him taking the lead from the Yugibo Racing Ferrari. In the second half of the race in the hands of Kyoto Fujinami, but there was no answer at all to the pace of Cozzolino. The car just set up so perfectly for Fuji Speedway, and once he was in front, how's this, either side of one of those two BMW M2 CSRs, and even though you can see the Yugibo car ducking down behind trying to get the slipstream, the door wasn't left open. And one of the stories in the second half of the race was the pace of the 99 888 Race Engineering Mercedes, now in the hands of Australian racer Nick Foster, and he was absolutely fabulous. Going past the D station Aston Martin, chasing off up after the top three. Didn't quite get there though, got up to fourth place, a whisker down on third place, but there was no doubting the identity of the pace setter, the race leader, the race winner, the first double race winner of the 22 campaign, and it was Car Guy Racing and Kei Cozzolino crossing the finish line to put a huge smile on the face of the driver, his teammate who started from pole. That was Takeshi Kimura, a dominant win at Fuji. No wonder the lights were flashing, the glory there, maximum points. There's Takeshi Kimura up on the pit wall, job done on home ground. And when I say home ground, of course the car actually is prepared just down the slope, the foothills of Fuji. So that was yesterday. What is today going to bring? Well, there's a very good question. Well, let's take a look at the points. And when they came here, Prince Jefri, Ibrahim and Nick Foster had a 38-point lead. That's been almost halved. It's down to just 20 points from the charging Cozzolino and Kimura combination in their Car Guy Racing Ferrari. Adrian De Silva, Earl Bambert not here, but they took plenty of points from the opening race at Sepang. But Naoki Okamizo will be picking his way up the order. He's not with his teammate because he's changed teammates, and alongside Kyoto Fujinami, they look likely to score lots of points this afternoon. But just to refresh, what I was saying is, of course, the driver who started race one yesterday will be doing the second half of today's race, and a lot of the combinations in the Pro-Am category, the pro driver is the driver starting today, whereas yesterday we had, well, for example, on pole position we had Takeshi Kimura, who was the AM in that Pro-Am lineup. So we're not going to have the same sort of race, and I think the charge down to the first corner is going to be absolutely something. How's this for something though? Let's go down. Amy's caught up with Yusaku Maezawa, who's not just anybody, not just a successful entrepreneur, he's a space tourist. Amy.
Alright, so we're back at the grid and we have a special guest today. This is the most famous entrepreneur of Japan, I would say. He went to the space recently, so I would like to have a word with him. Maezawa-san! ようこそ富士スピードウェイへいらっしゃいました。今回ごめんなさい、先週の鈴鹿でマフンがあったということで、ご自身のお車を貸していただいたということで、雰囲気と車の状態いかがでしょうか？
はい、ドライバーの直樹からもすごい調子がいいって聞いてますんで、貸せてよかったです。はい、ぜ
ひ楽しんでいただきたいんですけれども、2人のドライバーこれから乗り込む藤波選手と、横溝選手ですね、にぜひエールをお願いします。
遠慮なく全開走行していただきたいと思ってますんで、目指せ優勝でぜひお願いします。
ではポディウムの真ん中を目指して頑張って応援しましょう。ありがとうございました。Alright, so he's here definitely because he is the owner of this car actually. After the accident last week, he gave them his own car to drive so that they could drive on Sunday. So it's still his car, so he's looking forward to the middle of the podium. Back to you.
Thank you very much. Great interview there, Amy. And 12 days in the International Space Station in December last year. What an experience that must be. But great story too, because of course Yugibo Racing, one of the two all-silver driver lineups, had to replace their car, but that was absolutely fantastic. But let's have a look at a driver's eye view of the circuit as shown by Hiroshi Hamaguchi.
This is Hiroshi Hamaguchi driving car number 19, Lamborghini Huracan Evo. Here's a lap of Fuji Speedway in the GT3. First corner from 270 kph down to first gear hairpin. Then we go up to fifth gear to left kink of Coca-Cola corner. Then to famous Fuji 100R big long right corner. We go 4th gear, then do a little bit of lift. Then we headed to hairpin tight left corner. We go down to 2nd gear. And we use all the trucks to go 300R down to chicane. We call it download corner. This is from 5th gear to 1st gear, hard braking. Tight chicane here. We can cut as much as possible. Then we're gonna go to turn 13. It's uphill right corner. Then to the left. Then we have 2 last corners of the circuit. We use 1st gear here. Then to the last corner, 2nd to 1st again. Then we have a long 1.4 kilometer long straight of Fuji Speedway. That was my lap of the circuit.
Well, that's how to do it properly. The only time I've been around the circuit has been in a pickup, so that's a lot better. But let's go down to the grid because Amy's caught up with D-Station Racing, the fantastic Aston Martin. Amy.
All right, I'm here with Tomonobu Fuji, who's starting from front row. I'm asking him how he feels. Fuji-san, how do you feel right now? You're starting from front row.
Yeah, I'm really happy to start from P2. Yesterday we started from P4 to running around the podium P3, but we had quite a big oversteer during our race stint. So we changed quite many things for the today. So should be we had a good car, so we can be podium maybe. So hopefully we can enjoy.
Wonderful. All the best luck to you.
Thank you very much, Amy. Interesting because the Aston Martin showed pace and it dropped away. So another team like Car Guy Racing, they're almost opposite. Their workshops are on the approach, just down the slope from the circuit, and a lot to do. But just worth pointing out, of course, there is success penalty in the championship, and the first driver combination home has an extra 15 seconds at a standstill during their pit stop, which is really going to hurt them. And that's the number 12 Car Guy Racing. Sorry, it's the number 777 Car Guy Racing Ferrari. The car that finished second yesterday will also have 10 seconds more at a standstill. That's the Yagibo Racing Ferrari. We saw that down on the grid. That's the pale blue one. And the car that was third yesterday, number 18 AAS Motorsport car, starting 8th today, that's an extra 5 seconds. So for all of those around them, and I'm notably thinking about the car that's starting third, the 888 Racing number 99 Mercedes, that doesn't have those penalties, so that could really, really help. But knowing Nick Foster as I do, he's starting third on the grid. I reckon he's going to try and take the lead into the first corner. So we'll see how the rolling start works. It's going to be really exciting. Big difference to yesterday. It's quite a few degrees cooler. There's a nice little breeze blowing around. Tyre wear shouldn't be as high as it was yesterday. But what we've got is a fantastic grid of cars, 25 in all. We've got 16 cars in the top GT3 class. We've got 1 in GTC, which is a Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car. And then we've got 8 cars in GT4, all having their own battle. So 2 battles overall, the GT3 runners and then, of course, the GT4. And within those classes, we have AM, Pro-Am, and we've got 2 crews that are all silver in terms of driver ranking. So plenty to look at. Formation lap about to start. 1 hour of racing with a mandatory pit stop that is any time between 25 minutes into the race and 10 minutes after that. So with just 25 minutes left in the race. We had a few driver penalties yesterday. For one of them, unfortunately, cost one of the teams victory in the GT4 class, and that was the Team Scala, bright orange Mercedes. They were a little bit short in their pit stop and had to come in and serve a 0.1 of a second stop and get going again, and that left them just down at the end of the race. So expect the orange Mercedes to do very well today, because they'll certainly be looking and making sure they don't go under the 125 seconds, which is the GT4 minimum pit stop time. That's measured from pit in to pit out. So the car's setting off, the Car Guy Ferrari on front row as it was yesterday, but the big difference, of course, yesterday the race was started by Takeshi Kimura and it was finished by Kei Cozzolino. And this time, like with all the other crews, the order is rotated, and in fact the grid was formed according to the qualifying speed of driver number 2 in these pairings. So driver 2 sets the grid for race 2, and yesterday's grid was set by driver number 1. They have to be nominated at the start of the meeting, whichever driver of the combination they want. Could be driver 1 or driver 2. But for car guy racing, they just looked so good yesterday. Kei Cozzolino said the car setup is fantastic, so watch out the opposition. They're starting on pole position. Tomonobu Fuji, we heard from him, he's starting the Aston Martin in 2nd place. Nick Foster and Kyoto Fujinami in the Yigibo Racing Ferrari start on road number 2. Then Seiji Ara, the best of the BMWs, the only BMW in the top class, and Jasmine Jafar, the Malaysian driver, in the 2nd of those 888 Mercedes. Then comes Yuta Kamimura. Really look out for that combination. The Porta Center Osaki was flying yesterday, and Tanat Sati and Tiracle, he'll then hand over to Kantadi Kasiri. That is a really well raced car. Just at the background of the shot, it's the red, white and black Porsche. Then in behind, Reed Harker, EBM, that's Earl Bamber's team. Shigegatsu Wakisaka, the 3rd of the Ferraris, that's LM Corsa, alongside Keita Sawa. Sort of expect that McLaren to be a little higher up the order. Then comes Yudai Uchida, who's running in the AM class, was the AM victor yesterday in his McLaren. And then alongside the Lamborghini, Mineki Ukura racing that. He shares with Hiroshi Hamaguchi. Expects Hiroshi to go very well in the second half of the race. Ben Porter, AMAC Motorsport, always running in the AM class, normally winning in the AM class. And then the only car in the GTC class, that's Shinji Takai sharing with Banksy. That's the Bingo Racing Porsche. Now, in the world of GT4, the last 8 cars on the grid, Katsuki Hironaka, the Kishido Racing Toyota, just won the race yesterday from Team Scala. Theirs was the Mercedes that had the extra penalty in the pit stop, so they'll be starting alongside each other. GTO Racing Team, 3rd yesterday in their Mercedes, and 3rd in class today. Towards the tail of the grid, we've got 2 cars running in the invitation class, BMW M2 CSRs, and they are right at the tail end of the grid, so right down to the back. See them just snaking through the corners as they go up. That's turn 13 in the background, climbing the slope up towards the final corner of the lap. Turn 16, such a crucial corner. Down, turn in 2nd gear, drop down to 1st gear for the hairpin, and don't try and run too wide over the curbings. You will be noticed. In fact, track corner number 3, turn 3 is the corner where most drivers are being pinged for exceeding track limits. But it's all about a good exit from this corner. But of course, this time they're going to be in 2x2 formation as they come onto the start of the start-finish straight. Of course, all lights will be on the starting gantry. They can't actually see turn 1 from here because there's still a bit of a crest as they come past the pits. And then the track, the long straight, drops down towards turn 1, the first corner, that right-hand hairpin. Who's it going to be today? Is it going to be Cozzolino on pole position, who's first into the first corner, or will the Aston Martin from alongside with Tomonobu Fuji be there, or Nick Foster or Kyoto Fujinami from row number 2? Again, a long hold like it was yesterday, just going past the pit entry lane, so still a little bit of a climb, waiting for those red lights on the starting gantry, all 5 of them to go to green, and then 1 hour of racing lies ahead of us. A long hold, tantalising for all the drivers. Who is going to get the hammer down first when the lights go green? And from a 3rd row, the 2nd of those Mercedes is really on a flyer. Jasmine Jafar doesn't seem to want to settle for 6th on the grid. He's coming up. Oh, there's a frustration for Nick Foster behind. He's getting bottled up behind the Aston Martin, but for Kei Cozzolino did everything right from pole position. 3rd place is Fujinami in the Yigibo Racing. Now he's back to 4th. Foster held out on the inside through turn 2. So we've got Ferrari from Aston Martin, from Mercedes, from Ferrari. The Ferrari goes back, the 2nd of the Ferraris goes back into 2nd position, and Nick Foster goes to a neighbouring country nearly, as he got it all wrong, got shoved out over the curbing at turn 3. I think it was that or be hit. Certainly was very tight indeed. But it's of no concern at all for Kei Cozzolino. He led into the first turn, he's now making his escape. He's letting everyone behind have the squabble. Aston Martin still in 2nd place, Tomonobu Fuji. But look, already you're looking at about a 1.2 second advantage, I would reckon, as they work their way down through 300. They're breaking down to 1st gear, turn 10, Dunlop curve, and up the slope they go. In behind, Nick Foster has recovered, but he's back, instead of 3rd place, he's back to 4th. That was quite a recovery over the curbs and beyond at turn 3. He's got his teammate in behind, that's Jasmine Jafar, the 2nd of those 2 888 Racing Mercedes. So who lost out in that top grouping? Well, Seiji Ara was the one that went a little bit backwards. He's in the BMW M4 GT3, and he has fallen down to 6th place. Through turn 16, and importantly for car guy racing and for Kei Cozzolino, we know they're fantastic in the corners, but the Ferrari is very sleek in a straight line as well. Lower profile than some of the rivals. and importantly Tomonobu Fuji not close enough to get a slipstream down the start-finish straight. So at the end of the opening lap, the gap is nearly 0.7 of a second, pretty much nose to tail behind, and in fact Jasmine Jafar is in front of Nick Foster, so Foster didn't get back onto the track in fourth, it was fifth, excuse me for getting that the wrong way around, but Foster, as he comes down the slope at turn 2, in the background of the shot, look, those two Mercedes side by side almost, but no, Jasmine Jafar is staying behind me at turn number 3, and so he does. Down the slope they go, and then the start of 2 corners, 4 and 5, known as 100R. They go around the slope with a fantastic circuit cafeteria, just sitting up high, brilliant vantage point. Of course, no time for the drivers to look up there. Braking a little bit off the power, through the hairpin, brilliant spectator banking. It's like an amphitheatre there, as you can look down. But as the drivers put their cars through their paces all along, it's Kei Cozzolino just pulling a little bit clear. With every single corner he gains, probably a few hundredths of a second, but it all is adding up. I do notice though, Aston Martin is very, very good under braking into turn number 10, the Dunlop curve. He closes right in, but as soon as he gets the straight again, the Ferrari just looks a little bit more sleek. Kyoto Fujinami hanging on in third place, but Jasmine Jafar, and then therefore as well, you'll have Nick Foster looking to challenge the Yigibo Racing Ferrari. Out over the curbing, all trying to get the best entry speed onto the start-finish straight. Really, really long. And those with a good memory, when the circuit opened in 1966, the track didn't have the first corner that was a right-hand hairpin. It actually continued into the mountain side with a banked corner cut into the mountain side that looped the cars down the hill. I would have loved to have seen a race on that. It would have been absolutely superb. Best place to overtake into turn 1 is up the inside, but Jasmine Jafar was only presented with the option of the outside. Now the car's starting to get bottled up behind Fujinami in third place in that Yigibo Racing Ferrari. Jasmine Jafar right on his tail, Nick Foster on his tail, Seiji Arai in the BMW, the black car on his tail, Yuta Gamamura and Reid Harker starting to make progress in 8th place, but they are literally nose to tail from third place backwards. All about finding an advantage somewhere around the circuit. I can see that Kyoto Fujinami is now starting to run a little bit wide in the corners under the pressure that's being exerted by the Malaysian. Jasmine Jafar pushing those 2 888 Racing Mercedes right on his tail. 3/4 of a second was the gap between first and second. Waiting to see what it'll be this time around, with Kei Cozzolino in the Car Guy Racing Ferrari holding off the charge from Tomonobu Fuji. And anyone who's watched Tomonobu in the World Endurance Championship, quite often the D-Station Racing Aston Martin is one of the cars in the opening stage of the race, because in that championship the least experienced driver does the qualifying in the GT AM class, and then when it gets in Fuji's hands, he's just a master of overtaking. However, today as they go down the start-finish straight, again, therefore, to complete 3 laps, he's just not close enough to Kei Cozzolino. 1.1 seconds now is the margin, so went out on that lap by 0.2 of a second. But look, third place is going to be harder and harder for young Kyoto Fujinami to hang on to, because Jasmine Jafar putting him under real pressure. Look, that turquoise Ferrari got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars behind, and completing the top 10 we've got Tanat Safi and Thirakel, who's lost 1 or 2 positions at the start, and Sean Thong. We heard from his teammate David Poon down on the grid talking to Amy, and they are starting to close in on this battle as well. But for the 2 drivers in the first 2 positions, Kei Cozzolino and Tomonobu Fuji, this is really good news. Though they're not, the cars behind third place aren't dropping back by much, they're being held up. You can see those 2 Mercedes have got the pace to get around the Ferrari, but they're not being given an option. And again, into turn 10, the car's literally pushing that Ferrari that's in third place around the corner. It's a very low-speed corner. Kyoto Fujinami showing us he's challenged into turn 13, but he didn't win the GT300 series here a couple of years ago without having great racecraft. And Nick Foster's going, you know what, I'm coming through to have a go. And so we had a change of position there between the 2 cars that were 4th and 5th, and Nick Foster, as far as I can see, has now got, yes, he has 99 ahead of 888, and Seiji Arai in the BMW's fancying an attack as well. So often racing, that is the case. If you make a slight slip up and you're in a group, you're going to lose lots of position. But how is this? It's a 1, 2, 3. It's a 5-car slipstream for the driver at the back of that pack. Still, Yugibo Racing Ferrari holds on to third place, but now Nick Foster making a challenge. And a driver who's just about to gain 2 positions in a lap and a bit is the driver of that bright orange Porsche, car number 30. It's working its way forward. Yuta Kamimura at the wheel. He picked off one, he's having a look at another, but now Nick Foster has made it stick up into third place. Don't forget, he was the driver who was shuffled wide on the opening lap at turn 3. He's through, but now he's going to pull away. Now he's going to set off after Tomonobu Fuji, but he's 2 and a bit seconds back. But it was just a question of time. But as soon as Foster got past Jafar, I think Jafar just went a little bit high in turn number 14. He grabbed the moment and then instantly, at his first opportunity, used the slipstream down the start-finish straight and pulled clear up into third place. Jafar nearly close enough to try a dive up the inside into the Dunlop curve. Not quite happening. And I think what we're going to see now is some remarkable pace from Nick Foster in 99. Having got past the Ferrari into third place, look how he's pulling clear. From the middle section of the lap, he's just put in the fastest sector anybody has done all race. Therefore, although Kei Cozzolino is still leading in the car guy racing Ferrari, Tomonobu Fuji just under a second in arrears. Expect the fastest of that trio to be the driver who will close the gap. It will be Nick Foster. So what's it going to be this time? It's 0.9 of a second between Kei Cozzolino driving this 777 Ferrari last time around over the start-finish line, and the gap back to the Aston Martin. No, he's gained a 1/10 of a second. But importantly, what is the pace? Wow, fastest lap of the race. Nick Foster in third position. His teammate Jassim Jafar be given an option that if you want 4th place from the Ferrari, you've got to go around the outside. He's done that dangerous thing. He had a look, left half a gap to the BMW to have a look up inside of him. However, Seijiara couldn't quite make that stick. Oh, good move from Jassim Jafar up the inside into turn 3, and suddenly Fujinami has to cede a bit of ground. Seijiara in the BMW is taking a look as well. He's going to try and go the whole way around the outside of the Ferrari through turns 4 and 5. It's called 100R, 100-degree rotation. Gets it through, so unlucky. And we've got a drive-through penalty for a false start. I commented at the time, look, Jassim Jafar had made a fantastic move at the start of the race, but he's got a drive-through penalty. So unfortunately for Jassim, just gained a bit of position on the track, he's going to have to shed it. He's up in 4th place on the track, just turning right now in that grouping into the Dunlop curve. But a drive-through penalty, that is really going to wreck his chance. It's in small margins, motor racing. The difference between success and failure can come down to almost a blink of an eye, and unfortunately they were spotted by someone who wasn't blinking, and they did notice. It's a jump start for Jasmine. That's a real shame for him and for his teammate, the younger of the 2 princes of Johor. He's driving partner this year with Prince Abu Bakr Ibrahim. So no blame attached to Prince Abu Bakr. Right, what's the story this time around? It looks okay. Cozzolino's maybe gained a tiny bit. He was 1.0 seconds clear last time around. This time 1.2 seconds. The important thing is what's the gap back to third place? Only 1.3 seconds further back. So the first 3 cars evenly spaced. Then there's a gap, but the car coming to the bottom right of the screen there, the 888 Mercedes, that owes us a drive-through penalty. And for Kyoto Fujinami, the promise at the early stage of the race, unfortunately, that car was likely to go a little bit backwards, but it was the fact he was hunted by a pack of cars that has really, really hurt him. And the number 8 EVN Giga Racing Porsche is through as well. That's a Kiwi racer, the New Zealander, Reid Harker. There's a car, the Amac Porsche. For years, Andrew McPherson's team has run Lamborghinis, but this year running something different. They're adapting as they go to the Porsche. And Comet Racing, the only Honda NSX in the race. This is run by former F1 racer Shinji Nakano's team, Comet Racing. That's doubly busy here, not because it has 2 cars in the top class, it just has this AM class GT3 Honda, but it's also running Mercedes AMG and GT4 as well. So diverse cars from 2 manufacturers, different classes. Back talking all things GT4, just looking down to check who is leading the class, and it is this car, the Toyota Supra. Katsuyuki Hironaka Kishido Racing took victory yesterday, but they had a helping hand because the orange Mercedes of Team Scala had an extra visit to the pits because their pit stop was had to be over 155 seconds, but it was 124.9 seconds. That hurt, driving in, stopping for 0.1 of a second and getting going again. But at the moment here in Arca is 4 seconds clear of the second car in class, which is the number 33 Team GMB Mercedes, and the Scala Mercedes is back a little bit behind that in third in class at the moment. There's Shinya Hosokawa, second in class, 4 seconds down, and he is 3 seconds and a bit clear of Tatsuya Tanigawa in the Team Scala Mercedes. I must say it's good to see the Toyota Supra in GT4. It was one of the cars that one of the more recent cars to join the GT4 category, a worldwide category, subcategory to GT3. As you can see, less extreme aerodynamics, less performance, but actually same amount of grunt and very, very good down the main straight here. Let's drag right. Final warning for car number 99. That's early in the race to be getting that, and that is Nick Foster. Now, bear in mind, one of those was probably being shoveled wide at turn 3 on the opening lap. But for Nick Foster, he may not take a penalty. The team will be saying you cannot afford to go over the curbs anymore. Here is Nick Foster, right on the tail of the second place Aston Martin from Tomonobu Fuji. But that is a bit of a cloud hanging over him there, because he's got to really keep all 4 wheels. You can be 3 wheels and the width of an inch or 2 outside the white line. You've just got to have something inside the white lines that mark the edge of the circuits. So, big question. When is the teammate car running in 4th place, Jasmine Jafar, going to come in and serve his drive-through penalty? Clearly not interested in doing it just now. We'll race on, we'll race on. How much time has Tomonobu Fuji got still in 2nd place? Because Nick Foster is looking very lively, but he's not being offered any hint at the inside line into or out of the first corner. But Foster's got great speed through the kink at turn 2, looking to go down the inside into turn 3. Gosh, you can't get much closer without touching. He thought about it once, twice, 3 times, couldn't make it work. But now this time it's the Aston Martin that goes out. I would say 3 3/4 wheels over the curbing. That's fine, but only just at turn 3. But that's the corner where the drivers are mostly being picked up for any transgressions on track limits. Car number 8 is now on a final warning for track limits, and that's Reid Harker, who's running in 7th place overall, the EBM Giga Racing Porsche. So the race officials, they are watching. While Fuji in the D-Station Racing Aston Martin is struggling and fighting and grappling to hold on to 2nd place ahead of Nick Foster. Kei Cozzolino is escaping. Last time he was 2.3 seconds clear of the pack, of this chasing pack, but they're busy grappling and fighting, and the bright yellow Ferrari pulling ever further clear. In fact, we only saw him fleetingly just in the edge of a shot, but already he's turned through turn 16. He's onto the start-finish straight. So too are the chasers, but the gap definitely would have grown. This time Foster surely close enough to get right in that slipstream, get a slingshot, but is Fuji going to leave the door open for him? I don't think so. He's not a racing driver for nothing. Oh gosh, a big gain for the race leader. 2.3 seconds became 3.5 seconds. The gap between him, that's the race leader Cozzolino, and this duo behind. They're scrapping. Now Foster's got to go around the outside. He's got to make sure he doesn't go over the curbing. He has to back off a tiny little bit, and Jasmine Jafar, his teammate, fancies his chances. Now he's closing in as well. Not 1, but 2 dark blue Mercedes giving chase to D-Station's Aston Martin. And behind them, Seiji Ara, about a second down off the tail of Jasmine Jafar. His team will have said, don't worry about the 888 Mercedes, that's got a drive-through penalty to serve. And another car at the front end of the field that's being warned for, it's the 2nd warning. No, now it's been added to. 3rd warning, it's the car in 2nd place. It's D-Station Racing Aston Martin. I was kind, I said he had 3 3/4 wheels over the curbing, but clearly at turn 3 it was actually all 4 wheels. Thus, the 2 warnings have been added to become the 3rd. That is now the final warning. But actually, maybe the news of the morning has hurried him up, because suddenly for the first time in a while he's in a tiny margin over the third place charger. That's Nick Foster. Jazam and Jafar right on the tail of his teammate. But of course, they're getting into lapping now, and sometimes you gain and sometimes you lose. Just going past the Comet Racing Mercedes there, kept out of the way very nicely. Sometimes you have to take a corner, and unfortunately for Seiji Yara in the 5th place BMW, he really got a bit obstructed, because right at the apex of turn number 16, the final corner, was that grey Mercedes going considerably more slowly. So that's broken up his bunch somewhat. 3.5 seconds the gap between first and second. Scratch that, it's now 4.2. These are remarkable laps from Kei Cosolino. Lap after lap, he's lapping in the 1 minute 41s. Lap after lap, his rivals are lapping in the 1 minute 42s. That is why he's getting away all the time. Tomonobu Fuji driving just so well to hold on to that second place, but like the driver chasing him, like Nick Foster, he has the sword of Damocles hanging over him, because they are both on final warnings for exceeding track limits. The car in second and the car in third, inside the Akiland Racing Toyota Supra, that keeps out of the way very tidily. Doesn't obstruct him at all, with new driver in that, Makio Satyu. But look, second, third and fourth, Aston Martin, Mercedes. It is so close. One slip when they come up in traffic, and all the good work could be undone. Turn 11, coming to turn 12, climbing all the time. Looks flatter than it is. You try walking it and you'll find your calf muscles are telling you you're working a little bit hard. Turn 13, negotiated. The Aston Martin still holding on to second place. He got a little bit loose about 5 or 6 laps ago, and that's how he suddenly got these challenges. But smooth, serene, pulling ever further clear, under no challenge whatsoever as he pulls clear. Kei Cosolino in a different race. However, this little race, second is the Aston Martin, then come the 2 Mercedes. Don't forget though, Mercedes in 4th place, the Triple 8 at some stage will have to serve a drive-through penalty. They've been caught. Seiji Yara in the BMW dropped off their tail. That's plus the BMW team Studi, that's the team running the only M4 GT3. And he's caught right up with them. Yuta Kamimura in the bright orange number 30. Porsche is in the mix as well. Honestly, looking at this, as soon as Nick Foster gets past, which he will, he's almost doing it now, he'll be on the wrong line when they get to turn 3. He's going to pull clear. Tomonobu Fuji does not have the setup on the car. He's holding them up, but doing a brilliant job of doing so, right across the nose of Foster, who, as he swings wide, pushes Jazam and Jafar wide, because they go between turn 3 and turn 4. Down on the grid, Amy interviewed Tomonobu Fuji. He said, we just didn't have the setup yesterday, and I'm afraid whatever they did has not been the dream ticket today. That is why second place Aston Martin from D-Station Racing on their local circuit. It's probably about 1.5 kilometres from the paddock down the slope to D-Station Racing, but local knowledge is not helping them here at all. And now look, and suddenly we're going to have a bit of pressure in behind, because Seiji Yara in that black and red BMW very nearly got round the outside of Jazam and Jafar, trying to take 4th place from him. Not doing so yet. Yuta Kamimura ready to pounce. The Porsche Centre as Okazaki. Pit window will open in just under 5 minutes time, but you know what, these drivers are the pros in these lineups. They stay out as long as they can up the inside of turn 16. Now it's a black flag. The car in 4th place is not having a drive-through penalty. He's coming in now. Too late, my friend. You've stayed out too long. You have got a black flag. You're disqualified. You're out of the race. That is really unfortunate, because those are points that will have gone begging, because that car could have come back in the race, probably been about 10th place, but would have picked up points. He'd taken too long, but up into second place goes Nick Foster. It was a question of time. It was a GT4 car. It was the GTO Racing Mercedes trying to keep out of the way, but the move was done, and I'm afraid this one, it's park it in the garage. Black flag. Small margins, but you have to listen to the officials, and unfortunately the message clearly either wasn't sent to Jazam and Jafar, or whatever. He stayed out too long, so he's come in. He's taken it as a drive-through penalty, but the official screen is saying black flag. Now just going on to the pit window, which will open in under 4 minutes' time. As majority of the pro drivers in the Pro-Am driver lineup started the race, they will stay out until just before we have the digits at the top of the screen saying 25 minutes. They will do effectively the first 33 and a half minutes, 34 minutes. Then they'll hand over to their less experienced and therefore slightly slower teammates. Of course, the other way round yesterday, it was an early pit stop for as many of the drivers who started because they had their pros to do the second part of the race. Race leader, by the way, running serenely, Kei Cozzolino, 7 and a bit seconds to the good, with now, of course, Nick Foster up into second place from Tomonobu Fuji. Look, I said once the Australian who got past him, rocket clear at the start of the lap, he was 6,000ths of a second behind, now he's into second place. He's 7.1 seconds down on the race leader. Hey, on the last lap, the race leader Cozzolino was quicker by 1,000th of a second than Foster, but Foster was busy in traffic as well. Now Seiji Ara taking a look, and certainly suddenly the race is unfolding, not in a good way. Further mention from race control for 888 Mercedes, it wasn't a drive-through penalty. You had your chance, you didn't serve it, and a second warning to the team. The black flag, disqualification for 888 Race Engineering. However, the sister car is in second place. Here it is, number 99, Nick Foster at the wheel. He's going to be handing over, as I say, towards the end of the pit window to his teammate, Prince Jefri Ibrahim, one of the two racing princes of Johor. But our race leader turning into turn 10 even before his rivals come through the kink at turn 9. It's really, really difficult. Once a driver gets so far ahead that you can only see him when you're on the start-finish straight, and even here that's difficult because there's a great big crest in the middle, and it's really discombobulating for a driver who's chasing, not knowing really how far ahead, not having that visual to the race leader, and that's what Kei Cozzolino has achieved in this race. Great to have these GT3 cars racing all around the world, and the real mix of cars, that's part of the glory of it. But I can honestly say, having seen the pace of the BMW M4 GT3s, like the one Seiji Ara is driving in the European Racing Series, I expect many more of those to be competing here in years to come. It's very, very popular. Next weekend is the Total Energy Spa 24 Hours, the big one, 60-something cars going out to racing that classic, and certainly BMW have got some very, very strong candidates in that, along with the Porsches, the Audis, the Aston Martins, the Mercedes. That's the glory of GT3. You simply don't know who's going to win from the outset. Gap between first and second is not coming down at all. Oh well, there was a bit of a clash there, some bodywork coming off the back of the Aston Martin. It has a protruding underbody, if you will, the diffuser at the back of the, you can see it's gone missing now. There's a great big gap under the rear of that car. Seiji Ara got so close, he clipped the back of Tomonobu Fuji's Aston Martin. The handling of that Aston Martin won't be as good as it was before. Aerodynamics are there for a reason. You can, all right, okay, now the black flag has been heeded. One presumes expect that 888 Mercedes to come in and be parked in the garage. Didn't heed the signals, stayed out too long to actually come in and serve the drive-through penalty. Came in, tried to serve it, but the message has now got through to the team, park the car. So Jassim Jafar will be very upset with life, and so will his teammate, Prince Abu Bakr Ibrahim. He won't get a go in the second part of the race here at Fuji Speedway. So Jasmine going across to talk to the team chief, and who knows how that all happened. It all started with just a jump start off the grid. It was certainly a good start. He certainly pulled out of position, but looking from head on, it's very hard to tell precisely who's where. But clearly he was faster than those drivers ahead of him, and that's because he was adjudged to have got going before they did. Right, the lead now. Under 6 seconds, big gain that lap for Nick Foster. Now let's take a look out of turn 2 through the kink, alongside having a look up the inside for turn 3. As he went across the back, Seiji Ara clipped the tail. He was so close under the rear wing of the Aston Martin that he clipped the diffuser. That came off, certainly part of it came off. Pit window now open, and you'd think the Aston Martin will probably, well, they won't have time to really add much more on. They'll have to decide if the second driver of that, Satoshi Hoshino, is happy to go out and do the second part of the race with the diffuser damaged as it is. For all that, the Aston Martin is still hanging on to that position, hanging on to third position. Pit window's been open for just over a minute now. I think the first of the callers, yes, we've got drivers in the lower reaches of the GT3 class are coming in, but certainly the front runners, the top 8 or so, remain out on the circuit. Kay Cozzolino supreme in the lead of the race, but now 6.9 seconds down. Sorry, I misread it, just 5.9, 6.9 seconds down. Losing a little bit now to the chasing Nick Foster, but he will carry on for about another 7 minutes before he dives into pit lane for the changeover to his teammate Takeshi Kimura. This car is the only one that's taken 2 wins across the 5 races so far this year. Took its first win in really changeable weather conditions in the opening one of the pair at Suzuka last weekend, won yesterday, and will certainly be up there and punching at the top of the championship if they can make it win number 3. But the championship leading car is the car giving chase out on the circuit. It's taken another 1/10 of a second. Nick Foster at the wheel. Now Hiroshi Hamaguchi is about to blast out. He's just taken over the number 19 VMAX Engineering prepared Lamborghini from Mineki Akura. And that was always one that was going to come in because Hiroshi has so much more experience. And now finally the change of position. It was a question of coming, and it happened, turning into turn 3. BMW in front. You can still see the missing bodywork on the track just in the background of the shot. But running wide at 300R because he doesn't have the grip anymore. Looks like the Aston Martin was about to be challenged. Didn't quite happen. Being pushed really hard by Yuta Kamimura in that great-looking orange Porsche. Car number 30 from Porsche sent to Okazaki. Tucked in behind Kamimura is Reid Harker, the New Zealander, just trying to get on their tail. Every time they slow down, he gets a little bit closer. So, Seijiara up into 3rd place. 4th place, falling back, handling won't be too sweet at all. Tomonobu Fuji in the D station, racing Aston Martin. But in a class of his own, with that buffer that was built up from the opening lap as those behind him fought, and boy did they fight. Kay Cozzolino out of turn 16. And pretty much out of sight. Nick Foster giving chase as hard as he possibly can. Waiting to see the gap. It was 6.9 seconds down to 6.8 seconds, and now just waiting for Nick to cross the start-finish line in his AAA Racing Mercedes. Looks as though some of the other drivers behind diving into the pits. Oh God, they are trading gaps of literally a thousandth of a second here or there, so it remains at 6.8 seconds. Of course, for the Aston Martin coming in, so that is making its pit stop as well. Tomonobu Fuji listed in 8th place, but of course he will bounce back up the order. But it's a question of how much work the team's going to do to repair, if they bother, the missing diffuser under the rear of that Aston Martin. Noble, valiant effort from Tomonobu Fuji, but the writing was on the wall. That Aston Martin just didn't have the handling. Whatever they thought they could do to change it hasn't worked. And that was why he was struggling so much. That was why he was holding up such a train of cars. So there is the Aston Martin, car number 47 from D Station Racing. So Tomonobu Fuji climbing out and helping his teammate Satoshi Hoshino to get into situation, helping strapping him in. Meanwhile, Kay Cozzolino can, well, there are 5 minutes left before the pit window closes. They don't want to risk too much, so they'll see where they are, and if they come in with probably about a minute to spare, I would think. So that was a tough stint for Tomonobu Fuji there. But for the driver who started from pole position, was on pole by quite some margin, Kay Cozzolino just ticking off the laps. 18 laps about to go on the board. He's got that priceless advantage of no cars immediately ahead of him, nobody likely to slow him down. That's what he wants, these next few laps just before he comes in to serve his pit stop. Nick Foster goes across the line behind. Again, it's 6.8 seconds, and the difference between them on that lap was literally nothing. 3rd place, Seijiara in the BMW. 4th place now, Yuta Kamimura for Porsche Center Okazaki. The Yagibo Racing Ferrari coming into pit lane now. That fell away quite a lot down towards the end of the top 10 there, but of course now that will go into the hands of the driver who knows it rather better, Naoki Yokomizo. So expect that number 27 Yagibo Racing Ferrari to pick its way back up the order. in the world of GT4. That was another really good run from Kashido Racing with their red Toyota Supra. Took the lead. But of course, don't forget, let's just refresh the memory, but this car guy racing Ferrari, when it comes to its pit stop, will have to serve rather longer than planned, because the minimum pit stop time in the GT3 class is 90 seconds from pit in to pit out, including the driver change in the middle. But his will have to be a minimum of 105 seconds because he's got a 15-second penalty, according to precisely because of winning yesterday's race. However, the driver that's chasing, that is 6 and a bit seconds down, that's Nick Foster, does not have any success penalty. So he should be probably in front by 6 or 7 seconds, actually maybe 8 or 9 seconds when their pit stops are being served. So there's a story to be told there. The other drivers in the top class who will have that extra time in the pit stop, we've just seen one of them. That was the Yigibo Racing Ferrari that's being handed over to Naoki Yokomizo. That has an extra 10 seconds at a standstill. And also car number 18, the AWS Motorsport Porsche, that has an extra 5 seconds. But that hasn't had the greatest of races so far. It's in fact just served its pit stop, so we pick its way back up the order. Nick Foster, car number 99, will continue for as long as he can. Remains about, he found about half a second on that lap, so 6.3 seconds in a rear. It's been a good run from Nick, and it's up to his teammate Prince Jefri Ibrahim. But without the extra 15 seconds for their pit stop, that 99 Mercedes should be in the lead of the race when they get back out onto the track, and then it'll be up to Prince Jefri Ibrahim to do what he can. You'd have to say his chances are going to be very good indeed. And Foster and Ibrahim won the first race of the year, the opener at Sepang. So they know what it takes to win, but this is a much bigger field of cars. We had 8 cars at that opening round. A lot of them had spent the last 2 years. They were all set to do the opening round at Sepang in 2020, and we all know what happened then. A lot of the cars have stayed there ever since, and that's why we kicked off there. But here we are in Japan, the second of 2 rounds in 2 weekends. Last weekend Suzuka, this weekend Fuji Speedway. Not a bad combination. And the team Uematsu McLaren that took victory in the AM class yesterday, so they're enjoying their life. And with 1 minute and 5 seconds remaining on the clock, therefore still within the pit window, comes our race leader, Kei Kozolino. The last time he could have possibly come in without being the wrong side of the pit window closing. Passes my commentary box. Bright, acid yellow if you will. And car guy racing, there's Takeshi Kimura with his back to us. Helmet on, cooling device in place. On top of that, he'll plug that in, or in fact maybe Kei Kozolino will plug it in for him. You can see Kimura bouncing up and down on the balls of his feet, just waiting for that nanosecond to get out there. But this pit stop, let's just point it out again, will be 15 seconds longer than the regular minimum. So instead of 90 seconds from pit in to pit out, this will be 105 seconds. Therefore, the car that will probably go through in the background into the pits, because it might have already passed, in fact, Nick Foster will hand over to Prince Jefri without the extra 15 seconds to serve. So the pit lane's still busy. In another 10 seconds the pit lane will be closed, but looking at my board, I think everybody has made everyone has made a pit stop. Of course, one car made 2 pit stops, the second of which was it being parked in the garage. That was Jasmine Jafar, because he didn't come in to serve a drive-through penalty for jumping the start of the race. So by dint of just trying to find a half a second advantage or so, or possibly 1 position into the first corner, having started in 6th position, it really, really unwound for Jasmine. Big shame. Right, Mercedes powering down the pit lane, going past the car guy racing Ferrari, and that should be Prince Jefri Ibrahim, who will be on the right-hand side of shot any second now. There he is, car number 99 at pit exit. Between him and the car guy racing Ferrari, a number of seconds, but also the GTO racing Mercedes from the GT4 class. So you can be sure Takeshi Kimura will want to pick off that number 14 as soon as he possibly can. Can't do it in the pit lane though. And I guess the big guide for us will be what the interval is between the car guy racing Ferrari, car number 777, at the end of this lap, and the car that came into the pits behind it, but emerged because it didn't have a pit time penalty in front of it. It's the 99 Mercedes now with Prince Jefri Ibrahim at the wheel. 24 minutes or so remaining in this race. Hot work for Kei Kozolino. He didn't have to fight the others. He got clear having started from pole position. But again, it's summer in Japan. Not as hot and humid as yesterday, but certainly he worked very hard indeed. Will he be a 3-time winner this year? 2 in the bag already for Car Guy Racing, but I think it's going to be a big, big ask. And certainly Tomohide Yamaguchi is behind him in that plus with BMW Team Studio. BMW M4 GT3 just picking away past some of the invitational class BMWs. But for Yamaguchi, he's got company from behind. He's not just trying to pick off the Ferrari, because looking behind, we've got the number 30 Porsche Center Okazaki. Porsche with Hiroaki Nagai at the wheel, so they're going to be very, very close indeed. But expect at the end of this lap no longer for 777's number to be at the top of the leaderboard. It should be the 99 Mercedes. It should be Prince Jefri Ibrahim, who's already gone through turn number 16, the last corner of that. This is the battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. A battle I think that will run very nicely for the next 20 odd minutes. But what is the gap between our new race leader, Prince Jefri Ibrahim? He's crossed the start-finish line. The Car Guy Racing Ferrari will go through with about 6-8 seconds. 7.8 seconds, my first guess wrong, my second one a little bit better. But as you can see, 2nd, 3rd and 4th, very, very close indeed. Kimura, Yamaguchi and Nagai. Oh, Yamaguchi's run a little bit, Kimura's run a little bit wide out of turn 1, and it's giving half a sniff. That's maybe all it's going to take for Yamaguchi, but he's not offering him the inside line into turn 3 until, Kimura's trying to play a little bit safe, but he almost opened the door for Yamaguchi, but actually saved by the fact that the BMW driver has got that bright orange Porsche behind him, but then a mistake turning into 100R, and the front end of that Car Guy Racing Ferrari very nearly snapped away on him, and surely, second position was thrown away in that one moment for Takeshi Kimura. He's got to relax. You can't relax, because look, you're suddenly the meat in the sandwich, and he's lost 2nd position, and now he's lost 3rd position, because when ready to jump, Hiroaki Nagai, who looks to be the quickest of this trio in that bright orange Porsche, just seized the moment. He could have... Well, I tell you who we ought to hear from. His car is leading the race. He brought it in from the lead, from 2nd place behind Kei Cosolino. But let's hear from Nick Foster. His car is 99. Nick, it's with Amy.
I'm in the pit stop, car number 99 with Nick Foster. Oh my God, what a stint of yours. You started off P3. Great overtaking, amazing racing. You pushed so hard and you nailed it. How nerve-wracking was it?
Yeah, no, it was good. The car's really good. Team are doing an awesome job. Triple JMR, car's mega. A bit disappointed with the start. Obviously, the car in front of me jumped it and just kind of got stuck, so that sucks. But some good battles there. The GT3 racing's good. The GTE car at the front's probably a bit too quick for the field, but nice to be leading GT3.
Yeah. I think, you overtook in the pits, right, with the pit stop?
They had the penalty from yesterday, but when the thing's 10 kilometers an hour faster in a straight line, you don't really expect to beat it.
Okay, so let's cross the fingers to the podium.
Cheers, thanks.
Thank you very much. Back to you, Bruce.
Thanks, Amy. Thanks very much. 10 kilometres an hour. That's quite a sort of guess as to the speed advantage of the Ferrari down the start-finish straight. Very sleek always. That's the thing with GT3. The balance of performance is to try and make sure that over the course of a lap their performance is equal, but of course with the different shapes of cars, the different performance of the cars in terms of their cornering capabilities, at some points certain cars will be quicker and others have an advantage elsewhere. But Nick Foster laying it out there for everybody to hear. He reckons his Mercedes leading the race now in the hands of his teammate Prince Jefri Ibrahim has a 10 km/h disadvantage down the start-finish straight, and therefore you can understand why any slipstream they could get from the Aston Martin in the first half of the race was gladly taken. So, Prince Jefri Ibrahim, 20 minutes to go in this race, a little bit less. He's just gone past the Team GMB Mercedes in GT4. Car number 5, stop and go 1 second penalty. Car number 5 is that BMW that's just moved up into 2nd place. Oh my word indeed. So 1 second under their minimum pit stop time, and they will have to come into the pits to serve that time. A stop for 1 second and get going again. So the second you gained, you've lost. You have to hand back, but you also have the time from coming into the pits and going out again. So it's a real fall for the car just coming to the bottom of your screen. Seijiara drove that so well in the first half of the race, and no blame at all attached to Tomohide Yamaguchi. It's really just a little team malfunction there. So therefore, up into what will become second place when the penalty is served. Will come that number 30, bright orange Porsche Center Okazaki entry, Hiroaki Nagai. As I said, he looked very quick indeed when he took it over from Yuta Kamimura, and his team will be saying, you know what, keep that BMW under pressure, but the BMW is going to have to come in and serve its stop and go penalty. 1 second stationary is all that is required by the stewards, but of course the in and out time will really hurt it. Or maybe it'll take the approach of the Triple 8 Racing Mercedes and ignore the warnings, and then in turn will also get a flag. But you can be sure BMW Team Studio will be saying, right, okay, this is what's going to happen. Yes, it's annoying, but we've got to come in. And the gap for Yamaguchi to the race leader is over 10 seconds now, so Tomohide Yamaguchi, not likely to get up there. And what's happening for Takeshi Kimura? Look for the bright yellow Ferrari. There it is, running fourth, but falling away. Not unexpected. Of course, the pace driver in that car is Kei Cozzolino, but they make a very, very good pairing. But when you have an extra 15 seconds at a standstill, it really hurts your chances. However, we heard from David Pun down on the grid. He is now into 5th place. How's his pace? His pace is, no, he's not gaining at all on Takeshi Kimura, so maybe Kimura for now is safe in 4th place. Maybe David Pun is under attack. He's being chased down by Naoki Yokomizo, who was also delayed, of course, with that extra long pit stop for them. So it's a slightly false battle we're looking at for second place. The BMW with Yamaguchi at the wheel, holding off Hiroaki Nagai, but we have to have a penalty served by that number 5 BMW. Right, what's happening in the world of GT4, and it's being led by car number 33, which is the Team GMB Mercedes. At the moment, at the wheel of that is Hiroaki Hitano, building on the work that Shinya Hosokawa, former Formula 3 racer around the world actually, put in there. And Hitano is sitting on a 4.5 second lead from the number 12 Koshido Racing Toyota, the winner of yesterday's race, and the 55, the Mercedes that should have won yesterday, apart from a drive-through penalty, is another 12 seconds or so back in 3rd place at the moment. This battle for second place, so great to see. You feel rather sad that unfortunately one of those two cars, the BMW that is holding the second place, is going to have to come in and serve its time in the pits. The big question is when. Might be the classic case of the team managers having an argument with the race stewards and has told the driver to stay out there when he tries and sort it, but argue for too long, it could be a problem. So, race leader Prince Jefri Ibrahim, bottom of the screen, turning into the hairpin at turn 1. Meanwhile, coming over the crest at the start for the straight, somewhere between the two gantries over the straight comes the driver in second place now. 10.9 seconds in arrears, but under huge pressure from the guy in the Porsche. Here's Kimura, 4th place for Car Guy Racing. Likely, well, he'll be promoted to 3rd when Yamaguchi brings that BMW in for its drive-through penalty, which would be quite a result if they had a 1st yesterday and a 3rd today. But we have a quarter of an hour remaining in this 1-hour race. Neat, tidy, and that was the thing. In the opening stages yesterday, Kimura started on pole position. He had quicker drivers behind him. He let them challenge him, but he just didn't want to take any risks. And if push came to shove, he was prepared to leave the door open, let them through, not pick up any damage, and that was the winning policy. And then, of course, the car handed over to Kei Cozzolino as soon as he possibly could, and Kei did the rest for a dominant win. And today, Prince Jefri Ibrahim, well, he's doing everything right since taking over, building on the work of Nick Foster. Nick holds the fastest lap in the race, a 1 minute 41.222 second lap, and at the moment his teammate is lapping 1 minute 42.4, so 1 and a bit seconds off, but he's not happy to chase. He's just going to have to monitor the gap to the Car Guy race, to the BMW Porsche battle behind him, but he's so far ahead now, he's going to be probably 11-12 seconds clear of the BMW. Is the BMW about to come into the pits? Yes, it is. So coming in out of second place comes Tomohide Yamaguchi, just remember this. Pit stop was 1 second under the minimum pit stop time. That car should have been in and out in over 90 seconds or over. Obviously did it in 89 seconds. And therefore has to come to a halt for a second. And that's all. And then get going again. But obviously shedding position. Stop in the wrong place there. That's interesting. I saw someone waving furiously. I don't know. He went behind the gantry. Quite hard to see from that camera angle, but looks like he tried to stop somewhere. It was flagged to go on down the pit lane. So Hiroaki Nagai into second place. Oh, I really feel for the BMW Team Studi team. However, rules are rules. And doesn't that pit lane seem long and slow, staying below the minimum speed you're allowed to run at, and now pit speed limiter release, but that would have dropped him down towards the tail, I would think, of the top 10. He may well have risen to second place had the BMW stayed in front of him, but certainly now track clear for Hiroaki Nagai. And for Porsche then said to Okazaki, best result was a second place at Suzuka in the opening race. 5th place yesterday, but heading comfortably for second place now. Really doesn't matter, he's not anywhere close to the race leader, who's 12 seconds clear. May have extended that a bit more. That's Prince Jefri Ibrahim in that number 99 Mercedes from 888. Here comes Takeshi Kimura. Now what I want to see is the respective pace of Kimura of Car Guy Racing. He's in 3rd, background of the shot, looking to see who's going to be next around the corner. And it should be Naoki Okamizo. Yes, I fancied I saw the turquoise liveried Ferrari, and Naoki ought to be quicker at the wheel than Kimura. So we'll wait and see. But really, right now, with just under 12 minutes remaining in this race, for Prince Jefri Ibrahim, he's just got to keep it pointing the right way. He's very, very good at that. And he's not under pressure. They were fully aware of the fact they didn't have any extra time to serve in a pit stop. And he may be about to add a second win in his career at this level. Nick Foster can enjoy a cooling drink in the pit garage, and for Prince Jefri Ibrahim, the 2 racing princes from Johor in Malaysia. Neat, tidy, smooth, doing precisely what's called of him. In fact, that shot makes it look as though he's racing in a sprint, i.e. the whole circuit to himself, but he hasn't got anybody close behind him, and importantly for him, who's he got in front of him? Are there any GT4 drivers in their own battles ahead of him? But he's got a lead last time around of 11.5 seconds. He can afford to just be a little bit cautious in traffic. What a comfortable position to be in. Again, lapping at decent pace. Hiroaki Nagai is faster, but the gap came down from 12 seconds to 11.5, and just waiting for the guy just at the top of the screen there, the bright orange Porsche, to come across the start-finish line. It's probably going to be down to 10 and a bit seconds, 11.0 seconds now. And I was just wondering what position Yamaguchi had fallen to when he came in from that second place in his BMW from Team Studi. Well, I can tell you he's 12th on the lap chart, so he didn't drop to the tail of the top 10. He dropped out of the top 10 with that major penalty for what was a small infraction, but the rules are what they are for a purpose. There is a mandatory pit stop time. If you go beneath that, you pick up penalties. For Prince Jefri Ibrahim, lapping super consistency, low 1 minute 42 second laps. And he really is being blessed at the moment with space to play, which is just such a comforting thing, because you sometimes do find, particularly when racing in an event with multi-class, therefore you've got other cars that are nowhere near as quick to interrupt you, but very much under control. Bear in mind, he only started racing in 2019. Very impressive the way he took to GT3 racing. There as he picks off one of the, I think that's the Comet Racing GT4 Mercedes, no problem at all. Nipped up the inside, neat, tidy, concise, no problems whatsoever. Leading GT4. It's been a really good weekend in GT4 for the number 12 Toyota, pushing very hard indeed. 2012, driven in the second half of the race by Motoharu Sato.
Just double checking what their advantage is in class. And it's closed right down. It's closed right down because
Hitano in the GMB Mercedes was in the mix as well.
wait till they get across the start finish line next time around to see how the gap has risen or fallen.
But could it be 2 wins in 2 days at Fuji for Kishido Racing? And sometimes the battles in GT4 really get broken up by the fact that they have to sort of get out of the way of the GT3 runners who are coming through sometimes in great bunches. And it's amazing how many times one GT4 runner gets the sort of rub of the green, as you'd say in certain other sports, and just the traffic works against them. Now a driver who's really on the move though is Jun Toshiro. This car has gone from 3rd in class to 2nd in class and could be going for the lead very shortly. It's that bright orange Mercedes. He was the driver who just seems to grab poles in class for fun. As they cross the start finish line, Sato still leading the class, just 2.9 seconds clear of Toshiro, who picked off Hitano in the GMB Mercedes, who in the space of a lap lost a couple of positions. So all changed there. Now we have the 2 first and second in GT4. The red Toyota, wait for it. Now in second place, that orange Mercedes. And for GMB, well, trying their hardest, but first became 2nd in class just after the pit stop. 2nd has become 3rd. But much like the cars in the GT3 class, the top 3 finishers yesterday have an extra 15 seconds, 10 seconds and 5 seconds respectively when it comes around to their pit stops. But in some ways, the fact the first 3 finishers yesterday in the GT4 class were the first 3 cars in qualifying on the grid today in their class made it quite an easy battle to take a look at. Right, the story that is unfolding before us with 6 3/4 minutes remaining is that Takeshi Kimura in that yellow Ferrari from Car Guy Racing is being hunted by this one, Yagibo Racing. And Naoki Yokomitsu last time around took 1.8 seconds out of the Ferrari in front of him. If he carries on at that pace, the gap between them is down to 4.2 seconds. This could be a tight one. Going on to the final lap, they should pretty much be nose to tail. But, of course, there will be traffic that may affect them. But for Kimura, he's hanging on. He could have 2 podiums in 2 days. Right, a couple of moments under investigation. We saw the clattering into the back of the Ferrari by the BMW we saw just before the pit stops. That is under investigation. Sorry, the Aston Martin being clattered by the BMW. And also cars 60 and 2 under investigation for their clash. We didn't see that one. That would have been the LM Corsa Ferrari. That's why I said Ferrari, I guess. And car number 2, which was the AM class McLaren of Team Uematsu. So we'll see what happens. Penalties may be coming their ways, but I didn't see what happened in the second incident, so I can't comment on that one. So Jun Toshiro flying up, and he was the class of the field yesterday. As I said, he's hunted down Sato right on his tail now, a second down at the end of the previous lap. So he is closed down. The gap was 13 seconds between Sato and Toshiro a few laps ago. It's now down to 1 second as Toshiro for the orange team, the Team Scala Mercedes in GT4, just going better and better and better. He will be in the class lead. That will be one heck of a fight back in class. Track limit warnings for car number 22 at this late stage in the race. They still come. That's David Poon. He's pressing hard because he's trying to catch the Team Uematsu McLaren. Here's the Team Uematsu McLaren in behind David Poon, so he's just got to watch out what he's doing. Now here's the battle for GT4. What do you fancy, Mercedes or Toyota? You know, I think I'll go Mercedes. Oh look, it's pulled ahead. But that is the example of a driver top of his form. Jun Toshiro was 13 seconds in arrears when he took over for the second part of this race, and is flying. Yesterday could have taken victory in class ahead of the car that won it, which is the red Toyota that it has just managed to depose. But their pit stop wasn't a second too fast yesterday. It was 0.1 of a second. So even bearing in mind that interruption for them, the fact they can come and serve a 0.1 second stop and go. They were very, very close at the end of the race. It was only 11 seconds down, which was quite remarkable, bearing in mind how much time you lose coming into the pits. But good to see the Toyota not sort of settling for second place in class, challenging down the start-finish straight, but now he's got in front. Jun Toshiro should be pulling clear very comfortably indeed. Doesn't have long to stay in front though, he's only 3 3/4 minutes clear. Also there's a bit of body rub on the front right corner, there's a bit of bodywork sticking out on the flank of that, like a split had been removed, of the Team Scala car that now leads GT4. Right, the big question is that who's going to finish in third place? It looks as though Car Guy Racing with 3.5 minutes remaining are safe. The chasing turquoise Ferrari getting close. Yokomizo is now 3 seconds down, and catching the pair of them is Kantadi Kusiri, the Thai driver in the AWS Motorsport Porsche. He's in 5th and he's closing in, but for our race leader, Prince Jefri Ibrahim, his advantage has come down very slightly, but he doesn't have to press too hard. 9.8 seconds clear of Hiroaki Nagai in the Porsche Center Okazaki entry, car number 30, who in turn has got 12.5 seconds in hand over the Car Guy Racing Ferrari. Right, we really are into the final stages of this race. What is going to change? Our race leader just getting a little bottled up there behind the Team GMB Mercedes from the GT4 class, but Prince Jefri Ibrahim picks that off. It's always very hard on the twisting sequence that comes uphill out of turn 10. If a car's in front of you, you don't have too many options. Anyhow, a little bit of caution, a little bit of patience, and no problem at all there for Prince Jefri Ibrahim. He'll have to do this lap and one further lap. The race is an hour long. It's lapping around 1 minute 42, so he'll get on to one further lap after this one. And the car he's just passed is the 1GTC class car in the race, and that's got Banksy at the wheel at the moment. The Bingo Racing's Porsche. It's a Porsche 911 GT3 Cup class car. But the top class overall, of course, though, is GT3. The car leading it is the 99 entry. The winner of the first race of the first round of the year in May at Sepang. And this afternoon, Nick Foster put the building blocks in place, as you'd expect a driver of his experience at this level. And Prince Jefri Ibrahim, who he's mentored the last few years, of course the last few years have been slightly limited in terms of racing for people all around the globe, but now we're back to a full season. And Prince Jefri Ibrahim, victory in that first race at Sepang, and surely once he does this lap, or does the further lap beyond the last lap of the race, it will be win number 2 for Triple Eight Race Engineering. Again, looking back to third place, Takeshi Kimura hanging on in that. He's 1.9 seconds the good. The gap will come down, but I think that should be enough. He can get it down to about a second. He should be safe in third place, despite the attacks of Yokomizo. And Yokomizo will have to look behind him because the AAS Porsche from Kantadi Kusiri is getting closer and closer. 5th is closing on 4th, 4th is closing on 3rd. And nobody is closing sufficiently on the race leader, Prince Jefri Ibrahim, car number 99 from Triple Eight Race Engineering, heading down the start-finish straight. He'll go under the gantries for what will be the final time at full racing speed. Yes, his pace has dropped off, doesn't need to push too hard. 1 minute 42 second laps become 1 minute 44, but the fact of the matter is that the next car in line is, what's it going to be? It's down to under 7 seconds, 6.6 seconds in arrears. Oh, some messages from race control, by the way. The incident, the collision between the tail end of the Aston Martin and the nose of the number 5 BMW, no further action. But car number 16, that's the ABSA Motorsport McLaren, car number 22, the X-Works Audi, an incident between them is under investigation. So plenty for race control to be considering. Hiroaki Nagai pushing. There's nothing else he can do though. Going around the GTC Porsche. But he's not going to claw back 6.6 seconds on the final lap. Down to turn 10, Dunlop curve for the final time. Bottom, lowest part of the circuit. Then twisting the way up the slope comes Prince Jefri Ibrahim, bottom of your screen. Nick Foster watching on with interest, but fortunately no particular concern because he's not being chased hard enough. Nobody right under his rear wing, and so Jefri Ibrahim working his way out of turn 13 into 14. Let's do the maths. Here comes turn number 15. Therefore, 1 to go. Turn 16, the final corner, and it should be the second win of the season for the number 99 Mercedes crew. through the final corner. Bit of a drift there a couple of laps ago. Maybe the tyres, well, not surprising, the tyres are starting to go up on that Mercedes, but the checkered flag is out, ready to greet Prince Jefri Ibrahim and the driver who should be greeting him from the pit garage or perhaps from the pit wall. Nick Foster, second win of the season for them. There's Nick Foster up on the pit wall. Yeah, good weekend's work for them. Fourth place yesterday, first today. Never finished below fifth in any of the 6 races so far this year. Second place, Hiroaki Nagai, and the gap 7.8 seconds at the end, sort of immaterial, but that was another good run for the 30 crew. And super close. Which Ferrari's going to get in third place? Well, it's going to be Car Guy Racing, or is it? It's super close. And third, fourth and fifth could have been covered by a handkerchief, but Takeshi Kimura held on by under a tenth of a second. Wow, that was amazing for third place. Fourth place, good charge from Naoki Yokomizo for Yogibo Racing. Fifth place went to Kantadika Syrian. Sixth place, number 16. That's a car under investigation at the moment. That's the ABSA Motorsport McLaren. Interesting days on the track, but despite all that Kei Cozzolino could do, building that lead from pole position, there was nothing he could do with that extra 15 seconds at a standstill. And at the end of the race, far behind was Takeshi Kimura, 23.6 seconds. So add the take the 15 away, it's still a victory by 8 seconds with the balanced lineup there of Prince Jefri Ibrahim, who finished, and Nick Foster, who started the race in the number 99 Mercedes. And they also take the Pro-Am class honours as well, because they are a Pro-Am driver lineup, as were the finishers in third place, Takeshi Kimura, also in the Pro-Am class, and the finishers in 6th place, car number 16. We were just talking about that, the ABSA Motorsport McLaren. But team winner in GT4, beautiful drive from Jun Toshiro, particularly in the second half of the race. They had an extra time in the pit stop, and what a charge from him. So Team Scala winning that very handsomely indeed. And in second place was the number 12 Toyota, and third place in GT4 at the end was the number 33 Team GMB Mercedes. But today, unlike yesterday was Car Guy Racing and Ferrari all the way. And today it wasn't just a win, it was a very clear win from Nick Foster and from Prince Jefri Ibrahim. And here comes the Prince entering the pit lane, and he'll move up to Parc Fermé, and the smile will be very firmly back on his face. A good race. We got, I think, 3 cars through to the finish, and didn't really talk too much in the end about Tomonobu Fuji's. No, sorry, it's the other Fuji. Masaki Fuji pulled off in the Comet Racing Mercedes. But there, under the archway, the Yogibo archway, to be greeted by Nick Foster, Prince Jefri Ibrahim. A job very well done. You can see how delighted the pair are with that victory back on the winner's trail, and that will put them extend their championship lead. It was 20 points before the race today, and now it's gone out again. They came in with a 38-point lead. It got trimmed to 20 points yesterday, but re-established today. You don't even need to see Prince Jeffrey's helmets off, because you can see from his body language, very happy with life. We can just about see the top of the volcano as well. It's that sort of day. So victory for Nick Foster, who started, and Prince Jefri Ibrahim, who finished the race by 7.8 seconds in the end, from Yuta Kamimura and Hiroshi Nagai, who had a real charge in the second half of the race in their Porsche. Third place for Takeshi Kimura and Kei Cozzolino, and the gap was a tenth of a second as Naoki Yokomizo very nearly caught the Car Guy Racing Ferrari. So I have Mercedes, Porsche, Ferrari, Porsche again in 5th place, AAS Motorsport, and a McLaren. Good to see a McLaren going well in 6th place for ABSA Motorsport. A Lamborghini in 7th, and so goes on. So many manufacturers, and in the end, D-Station, Aston Martin clearly not handling with that bodywork damage, dropping to 10th place by flag fall. So Nick Foster charged in the first half of the race, a little frustrated, being held up quite fairly by the D-Station Racing Aston Martin, but once he got clear, really got the hammer down, and with no extra time to serve in their pit stop, no fumbles in the pit stop, nice and clean, stayed the right side of the mandatory pit stop time, and that was a clear victory. So I think the mojo is back for 888 Race Engineering. Well, let's go down. I said they looked happy. Let's hear if they're happy, because Amy is with our winners.
And here we have the winners. Car number 99, Nick Foster and Prince Jefri Ibrahim. Prince Jefri, you brought the car back perfectly clean and strong. How do you feel?
Felt great, to be honest. Nick did a great job and the team did a great job all weekend. And unfortunate, we were hoping for a 1-2 finish with the car 888, but unfortunately things happened for them. But we hope to come back stronger. But yeah, quite emotional, to be honest. I wouldn't expect this, and Nick started it, and I just wanted to put my head down and trying to be as consistent as I can. It wasn't easy. In the end, the tires were starting to go, but I was enjoying every lap of it.
Beautiful racing. Congratulations again. Nick, it was perfect management. It's your second win of the season.
Yeah, I mean, this weekend's been mega in general, and really the credit is this guy. He's stepped up every weekend. Sepang, Suzuka, and now Fuji, and he was the class of the amateur drivers, I think, this weekend. Showed a result yesterday with 10 seconds and then a win today when we could. So big credit to him and JMR AAA guys. I mean, car's been mega. It shows race pace is good. I think we had the fastest lap too. So yeah.
Perfect, wonderful. Congratulations to you both again.
Thank you.
Back to you.
Well, you could hear the pleasure in what's happened. And again, it's worth pointing out, Prince Jefri Ibrahim only started racing in 2019. He aimed high by moving into GT3, and the fruit of that has been born here. Great racing today, and really is such a difference when you have the grid reshuffled, because the drivers who started yesterday went second today. The grid was set by the different driver. But let's take a look at the highlights. Seems quite a while ago. It was an hour ago we had the Ferrari on pole position with Kei Cozzolino. He made a really clean start. Unfortunately, behind, one of the cars did not make a clean start. It jumped the start. We'll get back to that later. That was Jasmine Jafar. But the D-Station Racing Aston Martin holding on to second place despite the pressure from Nick Foster. We had Kyoto Fujinami also challenging in the Gibo Racing Ferrari. Really tight. But already as they left turn 2, the change of position was happening thick and fast as the Car Guy Racing got away at the front of the field. D-Station Racing, Tomonobu Fuji did absolutely everything he possibly could to keep Nick Foster behind him, but the handling of that Aston Martin wasn't great, and it was going to get a whole lot worse. We'll see that in a moment, I'm sure. Foster eventually getting up the inside at turn 16, down the straight they would go, side by side, no aerodynamic advantage, and in fact those behind trying to get a double toe off them. Car Guy Racing, Kei Cozzolino pulling ever further clear, but here was the move, the nose just in front now for Nick Foster. Move completed in behind Seiji Yara in the BMW in the mix as well. Then it was the time not at the pit stops, but unfortunately parking the car because Jasmine Jafar was served a drive-through penalty, didn't serve it in time. And at once then disqualified, and that was where the damage happened. Seiji Yara just clipping the diffuser under the rear of the Aston Martin would have been an absolutely horrible thing to handle thereafter. It would drop down the order, but as late as he possibly could, Kei Cozzolino came in from the lead of the race to hand over to his teammate Takeshi Kimura, but they had to serve an extra 15 seconds at a standstill, so the 99 Mercedes came in behind it, and as you can see there, rejoined with Prince Jefri Ibrahim at the wheel in front. That was absolutely crucial, and thereafter it was a race to be won by Prince Jefri, and he did everything asked of him. Came out 7 seconds ahead, and Takeshi Kimura would naturally fall back. Hiroaki Nagai was on a real charge. There he is, pushing on. Of course, he was helped when the BMW that clipped the back of the Aston Martin had to come in and serve an extra time in the pits. That dropped it down the order. But for Car Guy Racing, Takeshi Kimura, he just had to hang on, but it got incredibly close at the end, as you will see. Eventually just held on to third place by 0.1 of a second, but no problems at all. Victory safely in hand by nearly 8 seconds by Prince Jefri Ibrahim, coming past the checkered flag, and to the delight not only the driver on board, the Prince from Johor, but the driver on the pit wall there, Nick Foster, who started it, and there, that tells the story. They are back on track, extending their championship lead. The orange Porsche coming through to take second place. Hiroaki Nagai flashing the lights, and the orange Mercedes in shop there was the one that went on to win the GT4 class, so another really good run for Team Scala. But today belonged to Prince Jefri Ibrahim and Nick Foster. What a day it was. Let's refresh our memory of the results table. There we are. Victory by 7.8 seconds for Prince Jefri Ibrahim and Nick Foster. Hiroaki Nagai and Yuta Kamimura in that second place with a tidy advantage over Takeshi Kimura and Kei Cozzolino. And at the end of the race, Kimura really was looking in his mirrors. See, the next two cars were covered by 0.3 of a second. Naoki Okamizo and Kantadi Kusiro just couldn't quite catch him. Super close. Another lap, and I'm afraid that Car Guy Racing Ferrari would have been down, I'm sure, into 5th place. But that's what happens over an hour of racing. And good to see AWS Motorsport getting a good clean run with their McLaren to take 6th place overall. and that will have jumbled up the points table, but it's been concertinaing in and out. But for Prince Jefri, Ibrahim and Nick Foster, their lead has been re-established in what has been a really good, sound weekend for them here in this fabulous circuit of Fuji Speedway. So I guess it's time to head to the podium. There it is, already resplendent in the summer light, for the drivers to come out and receive their trophies. And we will have 5 podium ceremonies. We have the overall, we'll have the Pro-Am and the Am. Those are all the GT3 class. Then we'll have a GT4 and a GT4 Am class podiums. So the drivers will be called out onto the podium in the order 3, 2, 1, or in our case 777, 30 and then 99. And you can be sure that they took victory yesterday, but they'll be just as pleased, I would suggest, with 3rd place today, because they had to work so hard. Car Guy Racing, Takeshi Kimura, who brought it home by 0.1 of a second clear of the chasing pack, and Kei Cozzolino, who started from pole position. So more tidy points for them. And don't forget, of course, there's not just the overall championship, there's the 4-round Fanatec the Fanatec Japan Cup these drivers are racing for as well. 2nd place, the number 30 crew from Porsche Center Okazaki, Hiroaki Nagai and Yuta Kamimura. But onto the top step, called out there by Amy and Prince Jefri Ibrahim and Nick Foster, more than a little happy with life. They worked hard for that. Yesterday they weren't at the party, today they very much were. So again, 3 different manufacturers, Mercedes, Porsche and Ferrari up on the podium. Every driver out there will have known they were in quite a race today. So trophies being presented, and they will all... It's a great applause from those who are down in the pit lane, on the pit wall and in the grandstand opposite. Enthralling race, and it seesawed one way, seesawed another. And particularly with so many runners in the Pro-Am class, of course, you've always got the imbalance between the quicker driver and the slower one. But the good thing was that it's all about the driver with less experience and less pace learning from the pro in the pack. And you can really see many examples of that up and down the pit lane. So Prince Jefri smiles all round, trophy aloft. Nick Foster gets his as well. A fist bump and the trophies raised high. Certainly plenty of applause ringing up their way.
On the cushion. Sit on the cushion, guys.
And this is a new feature, the Yagibo Racing Cushions, big bean bags for the winners. They get finally to relax on the top step of the podium. I'm sure they'll all relax very well indeed once they've got back down, but a chance for a little bit of comfort after a hard working environment, but such a circuit to race on the Fuji Speedway, a chance to get some really good flow and those long runs down the start finish straight and some great overtaking maneuvers into the opening corner, into turn 1. So just to refresh the top 3 finishers. Victory for the number 99 Mercedes from 888 JMR. Nick Foster started the race, Prince Jefri Ibrahim brought it home, nearly 8 seconds clear at the end of the race. 2nd place, Porsche Center Ozaki, Hiroaki Nagai and Yuta Kamimura, as the bubbly is sprayed everywhere. And 3rd place, the winners yesterday, Car Guy Racing, Takeshi Kimura, who just held on to that 3rd place, and Kei Cozzolino. But today belonged, the second of the 2 races at Fuji Speedway, belonged to the number 99 Mercedes crew from 888 Race Engineering. Started by Nick Foster, who chased and harried and then brought home smoothly, tidily, beautifully by Prince Jefri Ibrahim. And they took that makes it 2 wins in the 6 rounds, plus a 2nd, a 3rd, a 4th and 5th place. So super consistent, and that is what leads to titles in motor racing. And the joy was clear for all to see when Prince Jefri got out of the car and swapped his helmet for the winner's cap. And there's his brother, Prince Abu Bakr Ibrahim, who didn't get to do his part of the race because his car, the sister car, was disqualified for not coming in to serve a penalty, having had a drive-through penalty they didn't serve for jumping the start. So let's just take one more look at the results. And there it is for all to see. Top 10 cars covered by 50 seconds, but most importantly, it was that 8 seconds at the top. Prince Jefri Ibrahim and Nick Foster. Victory for the pair of them. But again, look, some other drivers starting to rise to the top. Hiroaki Nagai and Yuta Kamimura, they didn't have extra time in their pit stop either. They're starting to find form for Porsche Center Okazaki. But for Car Guy Racing, 3rd place today, another one that really cements their position at the sharp end of the championship. Takeshi Kimura and Kei Cozzolino. And just ought to mention also the people in the classes further down. The AM class of GT3 was won by BMAX Engineering's Hiroshi Hamaguchi and Mineki Akura. GT4 class honours went to SRO Motorsport with their Mercedes, that's car number 55, and GT4 AM, the number 71 crew, that's Akilan Racing's Toyota. So that's it from us at Fuji Speedway. So the podium ceremonies continue, and as I said, we have the 3 podium ceremonies for GT3 and a pair of podiums for the 2 classes of GT4. People having their moment in the sun, and it really is a beautiful afternoon here at Fuji Speedway. Kicked off just before lunchtime, and here are the crews on the steps of the podium with the trophies being awarded all around. And this is the GT3 AM podium. And in third place, the Comet Racing crew, the Honda racers, Yorikatsu Chujiko and Yusuke Yamasaki. Second place in class, car number 2, which is the McLaren crew that won yesterday. That's Yudai Yoshida and Tadeo Uematsu. It's his team. And the winners in class, car number 19, the BMAX Engineering crew, Hiroshi Hamaguchi and Mineki Akura, the Lamborghini racers. So their trophies aloft. Just to work out, just to explain it all, we have the silver crews. We had a couple of those. That's 2 silver standard drivers. They run in the silver class of GT3. Pro-Am, where we have a driver who could be as high as a gold ranked driver, running with a driver who's a bronze. And then the AM class, this one we're looking at here, where both drivers have to be ranked as bronze category drivers. All racing in GT3, all racing identical level of cars, but battles within battles. And you can see there's as much joy on this podium as there is. And for all these drives, of course, they'll be scoring points also to put them towards the Fanatec Japan Cup, which has the 2 races at Suzuka last weekend, the 2 this weekend here, 2 at Sugo in August, and 2 at Okayama in round 5 of the 2020 championship for the Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia. And then the final round, we're waiting to have all confirmation. We should be heading to Indonesia, to Mandalika, a circuit opened last year. So, new trophies or new bottles of champagne put out onto the steps of the podium, because we have further podium ceremonies to follow. And it's the GT4 podiums. This is the silver AM class, so you have a silver ranked driver and a bronze ranked driver as well. Car number 33, TMG, the Mercedes driven by Shinya Hosokawa, who started, and Hiroaki Hitano. In second place, car number 12, yesterday's winners, Kashido Racing, Motoharu Sato, who brought it home, and Katsuyuki Hironaka, who kicked it off. The drivers who were scuppered by a penalty yesterday but had a brilliant fight back today, Team Scala, Tatsuya Tanigawa and Jun Toshiro, who just gained about 15 seconds in his stint to take the top step of the podium. So a really good result. They'll be ruining that pit stop yesterday that just cost them victory. Just 0.1 of a second too short their time in the pits, but a drive-through penalty for them thereafter really hurt. But on that form, they're going to pick up a lot of points through the course of the season. And today, eventually, they won the class by 4 seconds. That was the margin that Jun Toshiro had in hand over Motoharu Sato at the end of the race. But that was a really good chase. So not only did he gain 13 seconds, he gained 17 because he pulled up, having made the passing manoeuvre, to pull a further 4 seconds clear to win not only GT4 but the GT4 Silver AM class as well. So again, going through the podium format, the trophies aloft, the drivers then have to gather for the photographs, squeeze together for the top step of the podium, then they know what comes next. And in a 2-race meeting, it doesn't matter now if you get a little bit of champagne and spray on top of your race suit. So there comes the announcement. Champagne time for them, which will make the top step of the podium very slippery for anybody else thereafter. Well, sticky, I'd say, probably. It's been a great meeting, always a good meeting at Fuji Speedway. Such a picturesque circuit, but a circuit that really offers the driver plenty of scope. Next time out for these drivers will be the tighter confines of Sugo, but of course, particularly for the Japanese crews, they know these circuits very well indeed, each with their own very much defined character. So, for Scala, today was the recovery. Yesterday they had the penalty, they ended up in second place, but today, without the penalty, but with the chase, coming through to take victory and do so very well indeed. So they would have enjoyed that race. It's even better when you have to fight for it. And that, by my maths, leaves just one further podium. And there should only be 2 finishers on that because there were only 2 starters in the GT4 AM class. And the 2 cars were number 4, Comet Racing. They came home in second place. That's Shinji Nakano's team. They were out in the grey Comet Racing Mercedes AMG. That's Kazuhiro Sakai who finished the race and Masaki Fuji who kicked it off. But the winners, car number 71, Akiland Racing, the second of the Toyotas in the race. That's Makio Saito and the driver who finished it off, Masayoshi Oyama. They're the ones on the top step of the podium. So plenty of smiles, plenty of trophies and memories put into the memory bank here. It's been a great meeting. Suzuka was more tricky because there was the mixed weather, there was the rain on the Saturday, but it's been fine weather since the cars got here on Friday. It's dried out with every single day, having rained through the course of the week, but the race circuit today I think was probably as sweet as it has been. Rubber was laid down yesterday. There was talk of rain last night, we didn't get it, but today it got drier and drier and a nicer environment for the drivers, a few degrees cooler than it was here on Saturday. But for the drivers on the top step with the Akiland Racing Toyota, well done to them. GT4 AM winners here at Fuji Speedway. That's Masayoshi Oyama and Makio Saito. So that concludes the podium ceremonies here at Fuji Speedway. The last of the bubbly will be sprayed, and it's still 2 more races in this meeting, but from the Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS, this is the last other action at Fuji Speedway, and the camera operator gets a face full, as do the trophy girls. So it's been a great meeting. Looking forward to August when that comes around, and round number 3 of the Fanatec Japan Cup, which is also round number 4 of the Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia. And let's see how it shuffles out. But I must say that the 888 JMR crew of Prince Jefri, Ibrahim and Nick Foster came here with the championship lead. It was reduced yesterday. They've extended it again today with a victory. So I think they have kept their momentum going, and really looking forward to see how these 2 respective championships unfurl. So Fuji Speedway been really good for everybody here, and again it's also offered some cracking racing, as it always seems to do so, but the weather gods were kind. We even got to see the top of Mount Fuji, which is an added bonus, but all seems very fair indeed, and looking forward very much to coming here again in 12 months time. Definitely one of my favourite circuits around the world beat. So the equipment is being packed away, the podium is being mopped down, and just waiting for the conclusion of our race meeting. But of course, as I say, still the Ferrari Challenge Asia Pacific round and some local racing as well, and the fans will be enjoying those from the grandstand. And that's all from me, Bruce Jones. Looking forward next time around to Sugo. Looking forward very much to Okayama, a circuit I've not visited before.